Let's wind the clocks back a little bit. It's 2023. Everyone passed on Puka Nacua, and he turned out to be an absolute fantasy rock star. He was a 5th-round rookie. He had over 1,400 receiving yards, and for those that had him, struck fantasy football gold. And guess what? I found the 2025 version of him. And when it comes to checking off the boxes, here are some of the important categories. Speed, check. Productivity, check. And more importantly, going into the 2025 season, low ADP, check. I want you to get really familiar with this name because the minute that you start to hear this name, it'll already be too late. Now, before we go any further, let's start with the template because Puka Nacua just didn't break out. He destroyed expectations. And if we're looking at these stats here, he had 105 receptions. He had 1,486 yards, 6 touchdowns, averaged 17.6 fantasy points in PPR formats. He had a 33.2% target share after week 8, making up top 3 in that category. And he did it all as a mid to late waiver wire ad. And the question a lot of us were asking was, how did this happen? Well, for starters, he had a great feel for zone coverage. He also had a monster workload. And more importantly than anything else, he was in a system that needed him, which brings us to 2025. I introduce you Matthew Golden. Now, if we look at these stats over here, we'll first see that number 1, he's not just fast, he is blazing fast. And when we look at the stats from his combine performance, he ran a 4.29 40-yard dash. He had a 1.49 10-yard split. He had 17 yards per reception at Texas. He also had 19 touchdowns alone last season. And what makes him so talented is his versatility of being able to play in the inside as well as the outside. And this will bring so much value to not only just the NFL, but to fantasy managers alike. And when we just actually dive in a little bit deeper into his stats, we can see here in his first 2 seasons in Houston, he had 38 receptions in both of those years. He had over 500 yards his first season there, had a little bit over 400 in his second season, had 7 touchdowns in 2022, had 6 touchdowns in 2023, and we can see the breakout season when he transferred over to Texas with 58 receptions, had 987 yards, where he averaged that monster 17 yards per reception as well as 9 touchdowns. And his deep threat ability will make him such a valuable asset in all fantasy football formats. And all of these stats tell me a number of things. For starters, he's not just a one-trick pony that is a deep threat. He's someone that's a yak machine, someone that has good solid hands, and someone who also has a strong sense of the field. And all of this just begs the question of asking, does that not sound familiar? Well, let's revisit some of these stats from Puka Nacua's rookie season. For starters, he was 4th best in yards per route run, averaging 2.75. He also had a open separation rate of 82% of his targets. And then lastly, he was 2nd in the NFL in yards after catch over expected with 203.5. And it's so important to remember that fantasy success isn't just about the talent, it's also about the fit of the player within their offense. And Puka Nacua thrived in that Sean McVay offense because they needed him to step up immediately, which brings us to Matthew Golden and some potential landing spots. I think Detroit would be an ideal fit because Detroit needs a speed slot receiver to go along Amon-Ra St. Brown. Secondly, I think that the Denver Broncos make a lot of sense, being that they're currently retooling with Bo Nix for being their clear franchise quarterback, and adding a weapon like Matthew Golden will be fantastic. And I also believe that the Arizona Cardinals to pair up with Marvin Harrison Jr. would be a fantastic add considering the kind of athleticism that Matthew Golden could bring to that offense. If he goes to a landing spot that gives him immediate targets and open field space, he is a flex start with wide receiver 2 upside by the middle of the season. Matthew Golden checks every breakout box: speed, versatility, deep threat, and most importantly, value. He's this year's sleeper that turns into a wide receiver 1 in the right system. You can draft them in your leagues way after you get guys like Lad McConkey or Xavier Worthy, and those are guys that I believe he can even surpass by November. And as we close, do me a favor, if you got value, hit the like button and be sure to subscribe for more breakout videos such as these. Drop a comment on who you believe will be a breakout star in 2025, and if you draft Matthew Golden and he hits, don't forget who told you first. In the meantime, take care, God bless, peace.